time to talk about dual agency. So I started this video on dual agency in my home office, but I have an open house I'm doing in Avondale, so I wanted to finish it away from the house, just to get out of the house and do something different. So dual agency occurs when one realtor represents both the buyer and the seller in a transaction. Now, does that sound feasible? Let me put it to you in a way that you may find a little bit more recognizable. When you go to buy a new car, you'll walk in, you'll meet the salesperson. In fact, the vultures will swarm as you get out of your car and try to sell you that car. Well, during the negotiation process, at some point, you're going to make an offer, and the salesperson, if it's below what they're asking, will say, hold on a minute, let me go talk to my manager. So that person goes back to the manager and comes back to you with a counter offer. Now, you counter that offer because you don't want to pay that sticker price. You know you can get it for less. Sorry, had a client stop by, had to talk to him for a few minutes. So where were we? You make the counter to the counter. And that salesperson says, well, hold on a minute, let me go talk to my manager. I want you guys in this car, and I'm going to try to convince my manager to take your offer. At that point, the salesperson is acting in dual agency. They have made a commitment to you to try to work in your highest and best interest. But at the same time, they work for an employer, and that's the manager, who wants to get the most money out of you for that car. Does that sound like something that's feasible? Who is that salesperson really working for? Well, they're working for the person for whom they have the first requirement for fiduciary duty. And that fiduciary duty means that they act in the highest and best interest of that person. And that person is not you. That person is the manager. When we consider this in the context of real estate, if you have one agent who's trying to work for both the buyer and the seller, to whom does that person have fiduciary duty? Now, in some cases, that may say both, but how do you negotiate against yourself in that instance? Let's use another example. You and I have known each other for several years, and we both have a friend named Jim. Now, Jim's been over your house quite a few times. You ask me to list your property for you, and I become your agent. My fiduciary duty is to you. Jim approaches me and says, hey, I really want to buy your house. Well, Jim knows what the property looks like. He's been there several times. He knows what he likes about it and what he doesn't. Can I act as agent for both of you? Not really, except in one instance. If you offer $299,000 as the selling price for your home, and Jim accepts that price without any haggling, then I would feel comfortable representing both of you, because there is no negotiation at that point. I'm simply going to be the person who does the paperwork to get your house sold to Jim. But otherwise, if Jim wants to make a negotiation out of this, then I'm not going to accept Jim as my client, because you were my first client and my fiduciary duty is to you. So you may be asking yourself, is dual agency legal? In most states it is, including Arizona, but there are a couple of states where dual agency is actually illegal, and it's for that exact reason we've been talking about. How can you represent the best and highest interest of two different people negotiating against each other? Very difficult to do. I won't do it. If someone wants to haggle, they want to negotiate, I'm going to pick the person who came to me first, and I will turn down the second person. You should ask your agents to do the same, except perhaps in a situation where the asking price and the offer price by the buyer is going to be the same and there is no negotiation. One other part of dual agency is if you have agents from the same brokerage working both sides of a transaction. That's known as limited dual agency. Now, those agents could negotiate against each other. They both work for the broker. So there is a little bit, you might think that there's a little bit of conflict of interest there, but the professionalism of your agents should be high enough that they can work that deal in a way that they actually do represent each of their clients with the fiduciary duty that is owed to you. To end this video, I just want to talk about fiduciary duty in a little bit more depth. There are 6 concepts that follow fiduciary duty. The first is accounting. So if you give us escrow money, we have to make sure that we account for that and never commingle it with our own funds. Now at Coldwell Banker, we tend to work with title companies who will send a courier directly to you to pick up your escrow deposit. So we never touch that money, which is a smart way to do it. Next is care. Care entails that we use all of our skills to your benefit. That may include reading the contract very closely and counteroffers to make sure that you get the best possible deal you can get. Confidentiality is also a standard that follows fiduciary duty. If we know that you're going through some financial difficulties or perhaps a divorce, we know you'd be more motivated to sell. We keep that confidential from a buyer's agent. They will never know what position you're in because all of your information is going to be confidential with us. The only thing that we can't keep confidential falls under the next, which is disclosure. Disclosure is also a fiduciary responsibility. If we're representing you as the buyer and we know there's something wrong with that home, even if it's minor, we need to make sure that you know it. Fiduciary duty would not really be fiduciary duty without loyalty. Loyalty is another standard that we must adhere to. We will be loyal to you and always act in your best interest and treat negotiations as if they were our own. And finally is obedience. If you're selling your home and you want to list it at $299, we can always give you our best advice and counsel that it may be worth $280 instead. But if you want to list it at $299, then we'll list it at $299. Now I may ask you, if we list it for $299 and we receive no offers within 30 days, can we then lower the price? So again, I'm acting on your best interest because we know that price may be too high and it may not sell. And if you really need to sell, we want to act in a way that will benefit you. Thanks again for joining me for this video. In our next video, we're going to cover the bundle of rights and the difference between land, real estate, and real property. See you then. Today's secret word is fiduciary duty.